Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Ordos International Circuit in China for round 8 of the 2011 FIA GT1 World Championship. Today we've got the important race, we've got the championship race, which is really going to affect things going into the final 2 rounds of the season after this race. We've got a race in Beijing and then down to Argentina. There you can see a very, very busy grandstand for the first probably the biggest event that's been held at this Ordos International Circuit. Track temperature 40 degrees, hotter than it was yesterday. It's not too humid out there today, and the sun isn't really coming through the clouds. We're not greenhoused in here like we were yesterday, but as I say, a great crowd has come out to support, and you can see plenty of the circuit, maybe not from the main grandstand, that's just the start-finish straight, but certainly around turns 6 and 7 and 8 there's a great grandstand where you can see plenty of the circuit. John Watson is alongside me, and John, this circuit is, we saw it yesterday, pretty good for overtaking.
Yeah, there's a number of areas on the racetrack which are the obvious. There's one into turn 11, the other of course at the end of the main straight, but other drivers managed to find passing opportunities, particularly into turn 5, 6, very tight to do so, and also into turn 17, the penultimate corner. Body contact was inevitable, but nothing serious, and everybody was able to continue.
Absolutely. Well, we've got Hayley Coxon down on the grid and in the pits today. My name is Jack Nichols, and we will bring you this hour-long race. It should be very, very entertaining indeed. If yesterday's qualifying race was anything to go by, you can see a very, very busy grid down there, and we'll take you down through the grid order in a few moments. But this recently completed Ordos International Circuit in the Kangbashi region of China certainly is a very, very impressive facility, and I think that's impressive is a good word to describe it. We weren't really knowing what to expect, personally for me, never having been here before. This is the big story of the weekend so far. Markus Winkelhock in the 38 car, the people that used to be leading the championship before Paul Ricard, they were disqualified from yesterday's qualifying race because the rear of the car was too wide, so they were deemed to be ineligible, and as a result we'll have to start right from the back of the grid, well 17th on the grid I believe, because the young driver AMR Aston Martin of Thomas Enger and Alex Muller, they've been having problems all weekend, so it's they who will line up right at the back in 18th place. Yes,
and also at the back will be the Corvette, the Exenbank Team China car, driven by local driver Ho Ping Tung and Jerome Dembour. They had an engine problem, and they had to change that between warm-up this morning. In fact, it came in steaming like a really good dim sum steamer would do in China.
Absolutely, it certainly did in the warm-up session. There you can see, there you can see the Exenbank Team China Corvette, and it will be Ho Ping Tung starting. He didn't get to start, he didn't get to drive the race yesterday, in fact, because Jerome Dembour made some contact in the opening laps. But Hayley caught up with Ho Ping Tung earlier on, just before he came out onto the grid.
Ho Ping, obviously not where you want to be starting on the grid, but what a fantastic crowd it's turned out. So many fans are here waiting for you to go out racing. Yeah, it's a big disappointment so far. We've been having a really dreadful weekend, very unlucky. Hopefully this race, everything, all the luck will turn our side, and it's greatly helped, of course, by all the fans being here. It's a great crowd. Many people cheering for us, so I'll try to do my best and make them proud. Thank you.
Absolutely, he'll be hoping to do an impressive performance, because their performance so far, certainly yesterday, hasn't really been representative, what with that first lap retirement.
No, I mean, the Corvette I think is a great race car, and it's a car I would have thought would have been well suited to the Ordos circuit, but they've been really bothered all the way through the weekend with issues, and particularly in the race yesterday where we saw Jerome Dembour start. Ho Ping Tung was going to take over the car just at the driver change. Unfortunately, in the opening lap there was contact, and it was severe enough to damage the whole front end of the car, the plastic bodywork principally, and then the wings themselves, which joined the front bodywork together, peeled back like a banana, and the car automatically had to be retired. And then to compound issues this morning during warm-up, that engine problem which resulted with an engine change. So Ho Ping Tung is wishing and hoping that he's going to be able to go out and get some laps here in front of his home crowd.
He certainly is. So in 8th position we have the Hexis Aston Martin. Christian Hohendahl will be starting that car. You can see him there getting his helmet on, getting ready to get going. He will be handing over to Andrea Piccini, who we saw having plenty of battles yesterday on their way to 8th position. Of course, the grid is formed by the finishing results from yesterday, so they're their grid positions will be the positions in which they finished yesterday. The Hexis Astons really struggled in qualifying, but their racecraft seemed to pick them up a little bit during the race. There is the number 8 car, which is Darren Turner and Stefan Mucker. They're starting in 7th place. Darren Turner will be starting the car. The man who you can see him getting strapped in there, and they too, the Aston Martin struggled in qualifying, but they managed to sort it out in the race, didn't they? I think Darren Turner started 13th yesterday.
Yeah, and they had a good race by the end of the race, but not to the level of performance they'd hoped for, certainly coming on the back of a 2nd, 3rd and Paul Ricard in the championship race just over 6 weeks ago. So they've got a lot of work to do. It's a warmer day, and of course the track has changed a great deal, and that will also have a bearing just on what people will expect. And it's always very tough for the second driver jumping into the cockpit of a car. He's going out on fresh tyres on a track that will be different to the track that he might have experienced, what, some 6 or 7 hours ago at 9:30 this morning.
Absolutely. There you can see, well, we just saw quickly Nicky Pastorelli and Dominic Schwager. They're getting ready to start in 6th position. Nicky Pastorelli will be starting the car. Then we've got Nicky Katzberg starting the 20 car, starting from 5th position. Enrique Bernoldi yesterday running as high as 3rd before they began to drop down the field. Only 2 positions, but Nicky Katzberg, as I say, will be starting that and then handing over to Enrique Bernoldi in the Sumo Power GT car. Then we've got the other Hexis Aston, which climbed all the way to 4th position. Steph Dusseldorp will be starting that one, the 21-year-old, and he will be handing over subsequently to Clivio Piccioni. So the Astons got themselves sorted out really in the race yesterday after struggling in qualifying, as we've said. And then in 3rd position on the grid we have the 22 car, which is Richard Westbrook. So actually he's on 2nd on the grid, isn't he? So that's Richard Westbrook on the front row. He'll be looking to they started 2nd yesterday, couldn't quite get the jump off the line, and then didn't really have the pace to keep up with the Ford GT at the front.
Well, they're able to keep status quo pretty much throughout the race, but of course the key was the run into turn 1, and Ford managed just to keep the nose ahead into turn 1, and once they had achieved that, they were never overtaken.
So there is Maxime Martin. He'll be starting the car, and Haley spoke to him earlier on.
Max, we've seen you do well in the qualifying race. Can you do it today in the championship race?
Yeah, for sure. I think we have a good pace with the car here in the Ordos. So the more difficult point will be the start. With our small engine, it's not so easy. But no, if we are good in the first corner, I think we can be good for the race.
Thank you.
Maxime it was who claimed pole position in the qualifying session. He just outfoxed Richard Westbrook. Both of them could have gone possibly quicker, but it's going to be Maxime Martin starting on pole position. Stefan Rattel was also spoken to by Haley earlier on.
Stefan, what a huge success this event has been. The stadium is full, the stunning ladies are on the grid. It is fantastic achievement for SRO.
We're very pleased to be here. You know, I've organized the first ever race in the People's Republic of China back in 1994, a long time ago, in the south part of China. It took us some time to find another suitable location, and thanks to the support of the government of Ordos, of the government of the autonomous province of Inner Mongolia, we're here, and with a great promotion, with a good grid, and with a large public, it's very good to be here.
Enjoy, Stefan. Thank you.
Certainly is turning into a fantastic occasion on the first Chinese visit of FIA GT1. And earlier on we had the opening ceremony, which you can see Stefan Rattel there attended. As I said, I'm really impressed with the crowd that have turned out, because yesterday, you know, we've had a small smattering of people, but the grandstand today is pretty much full, and Stefan Rattel has done a great job in bringing GT1 here.
Indeed, I mean, it's a very impressive part of China, this Inner Mongolia region, and Mongolia, of course, probably most of us really know from Mongolian desert, but there you can see many of the important dignitaries that are here to enjoy and also celebrate bringing an event of this scale to the Ordos International Circuit. And they're the national dress of the the Mongolian people. They call them the tribe of Mongolian. So very exciting indeed.
Absolutely, and some of those dignitaries and government officials will be presenting the trophies later on. But who will be the winning driver? That is what we have got this next hour to try and find out. The rolling up lap soon to get underway. A rolling start as ever in FIA GT1 as the pace car leads them away then with Maxime Martin and Fred Magovicki on pole position.
It's a very tense moment waiting for the cars to start the rolling lap for the rolling start, and remembering yesterday we had a clean start. We got all 18 cars through turn one without anybody spitting off the side of the racetrack. I wonder will it be so considered today, because for sure Maxime Martin has got to repeat what he did yesterday and get into turn one to try and consolidate the lead, and equally Richard Westbrook has got to deny the Ford team that benefit and put the Nissan into turn one ahead of the field.
So here's a look at the grid. The first row, Maxime Martin and Richard Westbrook. Row 2, we've got the first of the Sumo Power GTRs, Campbell Walter, and then Steph Dusseldorf alongside him. Nicky Katzberg and Nicky Pastorelli, the two Nickies, on the third row of the grid. Then we've got Turner and Hohenadel in an Aston Martin, and then we've got the Ford GTs of Nygaard and Henrici. Henrici very quick in warm-up this morning. Lucas Luhr, championship leader, struggling down in 11th place. Interesting to see how quickly he can come up the order. There are the two new Aston Martins in their distinctive livery, with Jimenez and Winkelhock on the penultimate row of the grid. Thomas Enger and Ho Pin Tung will be starting on the final row of the grid. So Thomas Enger, that Aston Martin, it's in the Golf livery this weekend, but it's had nothing but trouble, really. Troubles in qualifying, and then an engine change last night, and then that didn't really work either. So they're in all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, they had a difficult weekend, and very untypical of the young Aston Martin team. And they had to have that engine changed. They thought that was the answer to their problems, but they realised that it was something more fundamental. They weren't quite sure when we spoke to Thomas Enger if it was a mechanical or maybe an electrical problem. Hopefully they've now got that resolved, but starting at the very tail of the field, as there you see that's the last car to come around at the end of the field. They've got an awful lot of work to do, and really it's a matter of, if you see your opportunities, seize them. But bearing in mind the opening lap on a tight circuit with not too many high-speed corners to allow the cars to spread out relatively quickly, it'll be about patience.
Bas Linders, we just saw there watching on as his teammate Mark Henrici starts 10th on the grid. We've got Peter Dumbreck watching on as well as he gets ready to take over. Well, he's not getting ready quite yet, but in about 25-30 minutes time he'll be prepared.
Of course, it was Peter who started in the Nissan yesterday and did a great job in getting the car into that second position before he handed over to Richard Westbrook. Richard now keen to get alongside on the clean line going into turn 17. That was a corner we did see some overtaking from.
Now we've got our pole position man, Maxime Martin. He's gone a bit early, so he's had to wait for the rest of the field to catch up with him. We wait for the lights to go green. Round 8 of the championship is away then, and it's a very, very comfortable start for Maxime Martin, and then they're all starting to fan out behind. It's almost 3 abreast, and a little bit of contact round the outside is coming Richard Westbrook. He's not close enough to make the move. The two Sumo Power Nissans very, very close to one another, but again it looks like a pretty clean start. Into turn 2 now we come, and the race leader is still Maxime Martin. Very, very busy further back in the order. There is Mark Henrici sending out a bit wide, I think, or that could have been actually the 9 car, which is being started by Christopher Nygaard, but it's pretty much as you were up at the front. There is the 9 car of Nygaard. He's now coming under some pressure from the 23 car of Lucas Luhr. Championship leaders coming into this weekend, but very, very well behaved on this opening lap. A little look up the inside from the Ford GT, trying to get, that's Mark Henry. He's dropped back a long way, the 10 Ford. He's now only 5 places from the back of the field.
Well, everybody's managed to get through turn 7 cleanly. There have been little bits of carbon fibre flying up, but nothing of any consequence as Maxime Martin leads the cars out of exit of turn 10. You see notice in the middle of the corner there's a massive bump, or I call it a step, now down the short straight from the exit of 10 down into 11. Possibility to overtake, but in these opening laps I doubt anybody's going to take the chance.
So third position is still Jamie Campbell-Walter. Then Steph Dusseldorf lost out to Nicky Katzberg, I think, who is now running in 4th place. So we've got Nissan 2, 3, 4, I think, at the moment, as we've got side by side. This is Henrici trying to get past one of the new Lamborghinis. That's the 47 car of Benjamin Laumberger, who just loses out. We go on board with Laumberger into the downhill left-hander at turn 15. A long sweeping corner, run it out wide, and we've got movement here. That is the 9 car, Christopher Nygaard, trying to get up the inside of the 37 machine, which is being started by Nicky Pastorelli. I think Pastorelli's dropped back a little bit, but we've got Ford, Nissan. Then we've got the 2 Aston Martins coming across the line. So as one of the Nissans dropped back a little bit. Yeah, Nicky Katzberg, I thought he was higher than he is, but we've still got this battle going on. Lucas Luhr around the outside.
Can he make it stick around the outside? It looks like he will do, because he's got himself into position to take that place away from the Ford GT. So brave driving from Lucas Luhr, going the long way around, the Ford trying to get back up the inside.